Hello, welcome to another special Sudoku solve video. Today I'm continuing the Sudokuvania puzzle. I don't know why, but all the digits were gone. So I've refilled in everything, which it took a long time. But that's okay, that's where we're at now. Where we're at now. Let's continue. I think last time, I kept this blue marking from the refilling in of the digits. I want to, because I'm removing that color because I think it will be significant in this puzzle, because it's a Philomena portal. Divide the 6x5 grid, so that's this one, into polyomino regions. Each cell's digit is the size of its region. Regions of an equal size may not share an edge. So, okay, we can draw in this Philomeno, because the 2 has to be bigger and it can only go there. The 1 is already a Philomeno. Let's see, now the 6. Now we're going to use color because the 6 has to grow, the 9 has to grow, the 3 has to grow. I can keep the pencil tool outlinings because, you know, they're done basically. Now we can redo that because 6 has to grow, 9 has to grow. 9 isn't 2, so 9 has to grow. Now the 3 has to grow down, and we're done with that. This is a border. 6 has to grow. This is obviously a border. Let's just draw in. I just need to figure out these numbers basically so I can continue. I think this grid was called elsewhere. Yeah, elsewhere. Oh, is there text? Yes, there's text. The world seems stretched in this interdimensional tunnel where Sudoku rules do not apply. Okay. Let's see, both of those are 3. Now I need to figure out other stuff. Because this 6 takes 2 more and this 9 takes 2 more. And Sudoku rules do apply. Irregular Sudoku. Into each row, column, and marked region. So these digits all have to be different. These digits all have to be different. I don't know if I can use that as logic for the Philomeno, but I think I can. Right. So where else can things grow? You know, okay, so if these are the digits 1 through 5, yeah. If they're the digits 1 through 5, we have a problem. I think. Because 5, you know, takes 4 more, 4 takes 3 more, and then we have a problem. So one of these digits will have to connect to those. So this 9 has to reach this edge, but it can only take one of these cells. So if we have the numbers 1 through 4, and then the other one is 9, which 9 then has to take at least this, then that, let's imagine that's a 4. No, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. Because the 9 and then the 4 has to take like this, and that can be a 1, and that cannot be a 1. So the 6 also has to take a cell within this. If the 6 doesn't take a cell in here, right? If the 6 does not take a cell, we are running into the problem where this is 1 through 4 and then the 9. And we don't have enough cells in the Philomeno grid. So the 6 has to take a cell, so it has to do it like that. This, well, it could be a 2 with a 1. It could be a 2 with a 1, or it could just be a 3. Those all have to be 6s. The 9 has to take a cell. And then you have 1, 2, and 3 left over, right? As a minimum. So 9 takes those cells. Then we could have 3 with a 1. Well, no, this 2 needs another cell. So we can have 2, 1, 3. And I think that is what it has to be. Because, right, this 9 does take a 5th cell. It doesn't really matter what it is. Then we have 3 cells left here, but 2 of them are in the irregular Sudoku region. In fact, this isn't possible. I can see that because now you have 2 and then that has to be a 2. And that doesn't work. So it's like that. But could it be... Could this be an idea? No, because now you're left with a 1 and a 1. Could the 9 ever not take that cell is kind of what I'm asking. Because then this grows, this 2 grows like that. Then the 9 is here. Then that has to be a 1. And the 9 needs 4 more cells. And that would have to be a 1, so that couldn't be a 1. So that would have to be a 2. And that doesn't work. So that has to be within the 9 region. This 2. So is it still true to say that cannot be within the 9 region? Because if it is, we need 4 more cells. It cannot just be this, because then that's a 1 and a 1. So if it takes this one, the 2 takes those, then that's a 1. And that's a 1, and that can be a 2, and that can work like that. No, because then a 2 and a 2 are touching each other. How can you can never make that work. Because right now it either takes this one or it doesn't. If it doesn't, we have a problem. Because 1, 1, and then a 2, that doesn't work. Or we can take that one and move downward, but then you have the 2, and the 1, and that doesn't work. So it could never take that cell. Or... No, it couldn't. Could it? Because, right, this 2 has to go somewhere. It has to go either that way or that way. Yeah, it has to go to one of those ways. That is pretty clear. If it's like this, then the 9 needs 3 more cells. Could be those. But then this is a 2, and that doesn't work. So it takes this one, it takes those, that's a 2. And that has to be a 2. And that doesn't work, so it doesn't. So how do we make this work? I thought I had it just drawn out just now with 2, like that, and then 2 and a 1. That does work. Oh, that does work. So if I do this, right, and that's a 1, that's a 1, but that couldn't be a 1, 1, okay. Yeah, so I was correct to say that this one has to be in, but this one isn't necessarily out, because I didn't recognize this as an option. And I do think it has to be like that, because now this 2 has to grow. If this 9 takes this one, it can take 1 more, and that would have to be that one, because we know it has to reach this end. Then we have 2. Yeah, no, we have a problem with the 2s. Okay, so it is those. And then that's both 2. That's all 9. That's a 2, that's a 1, and that's all 3. Whoa, okay. What? We knew it was going to be irregular Sudoku, right? So I'm not too surprised. I want to remove this lining. I don't need it anymore. Now the phenomena puzzle looks just weird, but that's fine. And remove all the color because it'll interfere with the rest. And this, because I want it to be clear. Yes, okay. There we go. Elsewhere. Let's read the text. It is disorienting seeing the regions of this otherworldly prairie stretch out into the distance. The ground doesn't feel quite solid. Enter the digits 1 to 9 in each row, column, and mark region. Have we figured out what this is yet? Have we? No, I don't see it in the learned rules. So I don't expect I have missed anything yet. Let's see, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, and 8. And now this is then the same, 4, 5, 7, and 8. How big are these regions? 2, 5, 9. So these are full regions. So for example, one of those is a 9, because the 9 sees those and it sees those. Okay, that does make sense. So what do we do something with? I have a... So what does this belong to? Is what I'm starting to think. What does this cell belong to? It has to be part of this region, because it's not part of this region and not part of this one. Then those have to join it. 3, 6, so that has to be a region. It has to be a symmetrical puzzle. Then this 1 places a 1 into one of those. So that's not a 1. Those aren't 1s necessarily. But that's such a minor point. Why? There has to be something more general about this puzzle, because the grid shape is very specific. This digit appears in one of those. So if it is this one, which is a big if, because it could just be this one, right? If this is this digit, because it sees all of those, and it is one of those two. It couldn't be 4, because that would place double 9. It couldn't be 5, because 5 cannot go in a whisper. It couldn't be 7, because that couldn't be 1 or 2. So it would have to be 8. Does that work the same? No, because that can be a 1-2 pair. So if this digit is that digit, this would have to be a 7 or an 8, creating a 1-2 pair. But those could be a 7-8 pair. Could be. Even though that's not too likely, but then this could be a 1-2 pair. That could be an 8, that could be a 7, that could be a 1-2 pair, that could be a 1-3 pair. Then we have 1-2-3, 1-2-3, and that will be 1-2-3. Now, why is that relevant? But that's only in the case where these are both that digit. And that doesn't seem likely. So I don't think that's what I'm supposed to be focusing on. Then if that's 1-2, if that's 1-3, I mean, and that has to be 8. Well, this couldn't be, right, okay, so this couldn't be 6 or 4. So the options are somewhat limited. They are 1, 2, 3, not 1, 2, 3, and then 7, 8, or 9, right? And the same for this one. 2, 3, and then 7, 8, or 9. Well, this couldn't be 7, because that can be 1 or 2. If that's 8, that's a 1-3 pair. If that is 9, then that's a 9, and that doesn't work, so that's not it. Does this one have the same properties? I don't think it does, because it doesn't have the 9 in that specific spot. It has the 6. So one of those is a 6, but could that be a 6? 6 will place a 1 and a 1, and that doesn't work. So no, it couldn't. So 6 is in one of those. I don't know how relevant that is, but I'll just note it. That's a 6, that's a 6, so that's not a 6. These aren't 6s. If that's a 6, that's a 1, so that's a 6. If none of those are now a 6, can we do something similar? Because that's not 9. If that's a 9, that's a 2 or a 3, but that does work. That does work. I was fair. Oh, that's now a 6. Oh, and that reveals the rest. Okay. Is it now revealed? I'm pretty sure there are zipper lines, but I'm not going to assume anything. That has to be a zipper line, right? I don't know. I feel like it has to be. Oh, that's a 3. Okay. That's interesting. I don't know what that does. 6, 6, so one of those is 6, so that's a 3, 6 pair. So now that cannot be an 8. So that digit goes there, whatever it is. I'm going to label it as purple, because I said it's not 4, 5, it's not 7, 8. In fact, 2 or 3, so that means that that is a high digit. So it is 7, 8, or 9. That's 7, 8, or 9. That is 1, 2, 3, or 4. If that's 3, that's an 8, 9 pair. But I don't see a problem. I don't see a problem. So 6, so one of those is 6, so that's not a 6, but we knew because of this one. Also, I saw SkepticalMario uploaded the next boss puzzle as a, separate boss puzzle, and it was labeled a 5-star puzzle, and it's this puzzle's boss puzzle. I'm pretty sure it's this puzzle's boss puzzle. Yeah, it is, the elsewhere boss. So I'm afraid I'm going to have to do that this recording session. I'm a 5-star puzzle. I've been struggling with the 3-star puzzles, so I'm not sure. Oh, this digit is that digit, because it's not a 6. Right. So that's not 2 or 3. Oh. That is not 2 or 3. It is not 9. So it's 7 or 8. So these are low. So whatever they are a 1-2 pair. That's not a 6. That is a 7, 8, or 9. That 1-2 pairs may be interesting. Oh, that's not a 1-2 pair, so one of those is 1 or 2. Well, 1 and 2 are in those 4, but I don't know where. What else? So one of those is 9. Could that be, if that's a 2, that can be a 7, 8 pair. And that's 4, 5, then that is 7, 8. I'm just seeing, alright, what if those cannot be a 9? Because then you have a 4, 5, 7, 8, 3, 6. Then you're just missing 1 and 9. But that does make sense. That does, you know. Well, no. No, right? Because one of those... Oh, no, that's the 1 and that's the 9. I was going to say one of those is a 9. So, nothing else can really be a 9. I don't think I'm going to have to use the coins. I think it has to be a regular Sudoku that I'm just not seeing. 2, one of those is a 2. That is something. Three, maybe. Because I have some 3s. Well, okay, so that's now a 7 or an 8. Oh, that's now a 7 or an 8. So that cannot be a 4, 5 pair. Well, no, that's not true. No, I'm making a mistake. That cannot be a 4, 5 pair. A 7, 8 pair, I mean. I'm sorry, whoa. Okay. Get it right. This digit is that digit. Oh, so it cannot be a 9. If neither of those is a 9, then that's a 1. Oh, well, that is just a 1, okay, because that's the only place 1 can go in this row. And then this digit is that digit, so one of those must be a 9. I don't want to label it like that, but... Well, one of those has to be a 9. Then this is either 7 or 8, with either 7 or 8. Yeah, I don't know, that doesn't say anything. But that 1 was somewhat obvious and I missed it, so I need to be... I don't know, I'm not that... Irregular Sudoku, just the scanning doesn't work for me. Though I do love chaos construction, so maybe that's a bit double. Let's see, what can we do? So that is 4, 5, 7, or 8. Let's just label it so we remember. This digit doesn't go there. But it could be in a lot of other stuff, okay. 9 is down here. So 9 is not there. Well, I could say a lot. I could say the same about that one, but 9 not being there, 9 not being there, so 9 isn't one of those. But that does make... Yeah, okay. That's just the circle. So sixes. Sixes, I have a lot of sixes. So what can I place? Where can I place a 6 maybe? So 6 is in one of those. Yeah, but okay. Yeah, sure. Right. 6 is in one of those. 6 is in one of those. One of those. So that's the 3 6s in this column. So one of those is a 6. That's not true. That's not true what I just said, is it? Because 6 doesn't have to be there. 6 is in one of those. Not necessarily in this side. But 6 is within this, but there's only one of them. Okay, that's not true. That wasn't anything. One of those digits has to be a 3, because otherwise you cannot place a 3 in the column. But I don't know which one. Then, because right, these 4 digits have to appear in these 4 digits. So these 2 digits, yeah, it's the 1 and the 2, but the 1 and the 2 are here, so that doesn't matter. I don't think that's relevant. There's probably just one more digit that I can place, and that will unlock more. Maybe the shade, or maybe the boss puzzle. Yeah, so 6 is in one of those. Well, okay. I don't like it that it highlights that as well. Maybe we start thinking about this then. Because if that's a 9, right, I think we are having some trouble. Because if that's a 9, no. Is that it? Well, that just... Basically, what this 3 in my head, all it's saying is that cannot be like 7, 8, or 9. It couldn't be 6, so it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But it has to be something with that 3, because it's the only thing I haven't looked at. If that is an 8, then this has to be higher than that. But that could be a 7. Correction, that could be a 7. That could be an 8, and that could be a 9. Could that be a 7? If that's a 7, that's higher than it, so those two are visible. Then 7, 9. 7, 9, and this has to be higher than this. But it couldn't be 6. But that could just be 1, 2, or 3. So I don't see the significance in that. If there is. So, where am I? What am I looking for? This digit doesn't go there. It goes in one of those. So it's not this one. I'm going to label that a different color. Maybe that helps me see. So it's not that. So orange is in one of those. So it's different than this one. Maybe I'm gonna remove purple for a second, because 7, 8, 9, you know, that's somewhat, this digit is something different than that digit. I think that is relevant. And purple goes in one of those. So that digit is not purple and it's not orange. Okay, is that something? Now this is also in one of those. I'm starting to think, right? Could that be 7 or 8? Because if it is, then we have 7, 8 there, and then that's a 9. And that couldn't be 7 or 8. So my problem is green can be there, so that allows that to be a 9, I think. I'm starting to think, can 9 ever be down here? Because then you always see the 8. If for example, that's a 9. I just want that to be not be able to be a 9. Because what does that mean if that isn't a 9? I'm going to look at this for a second. Okay, I stopped the recording for I think about 7 minutes. And it is a lot easier than I thought it would be. If this digit is that digit, where does this digit come from? Because it cannot be there, so it's there. And the 2 is looking at it, so it's a 3. So that's a 3. And there we have the boss puzzle. Okay, so let's clean up a bit, because that's now not 7. So those aren't 8. And I think it's time to do the boss puzzle now. I am scared for that. Okay. Enlightenment by SkepticalMario. You squint into the distance, trying to make sense of this irregular place. You feel so exposed without a box around you. You must be searching for something. You roll to find someone behind you. She continues to speaking over your exclamation of surprise. I could see Sudokuvania through the portal by which you came here. Do you know what is happening in that castle? You explain that you are only looking for knowledge, but she seems to know this already. There is a group of people who have been waiting for Sudokuvania to return. They intend to destroy Sudoku itself with some kind of doomsday device. Even now they are trying to access the throne room at the center of the castle. I cannot help you, but I can allow you to grow to help yourself. Sit. Meditate on the nature of regions. When you can construct a grid with the power of your mind, you will be able to return from this place. Sudoku, place the digits from 1 to 9 in each cell without repeating a row, column, or region. Chaos construction. The regions are 9 groups of 9 orthogonally connected cells which do not overlap and whose position must be deduced. There are 3 types of clues in a grid: zipper line, German whisper line, and ratio crop key. See rules below. For 2 of these clue types, each clue resides entirely in the same region, never crosses a region border. For the 3rd type, adjacent cells on the clue are in different regions, always cross the region border. A line following this rule can have multiple cells in the same region as long as each cell on the line is in a different region from its neighbors. A line following this rule. Ratio crop, so German whisper line ratio. For 2 of these clue types, each clue resides entirely in the same region. Ratio crop key. Black dots separate digits where one digit is double the other. Not all dots are given. German whispers. Adjacent digits along a green line must differ by at least 5. Zipper line. Digits an equal distance from the center of a red zipper line, sum to the digit in the center of the line. Okay. Okay, so it has been a couple hours since the last part of the clip. Yeah, this puzzle was difficult, I would say. The 5-star rating on Logic Masters Germany was very, very fair. Yeah, no, I couldn't do it in one sitting, so I solved it together with someone, and yeah, I'm gonna walk through the solve because I don't think for me this wasn't doable. For me, this wasn't doable as just a video. Well, maybe it would have. It would have just been a long video. I read through all the rules. I can remember that. Okay, so where do we start off, right? We want to delineate cages. We want to make the regions. So okay, so you have the rule, right, where one is the broken and the rest is full. So let's say hypothetically German Whispers is the full one of the full lines, right? We can draw in this. Now, if we draw a different region in here, obviously it's too small, so it all has to be orange. This makes it so that the zipper lines are also full regions. So that means the crop key dots have to be broken, and specifically these form a problem. Because, right, if these move out, German Whispers are all the same color, and now we break the rule. So the hypothesis, are German Whispers full, is wrong. So all the other clues are full clues. So we know about this one. This has to be a different color than this one because they're both 5. And you don't have 10 cell regions. These belong to that as well. We can draw delineations between all the German Whisper lines. This one is a different region because it doesn't belong to orange nor blue. Now, okay. Okay, this little thing cannot belong to red, orange, or blue, so it is a different thing. Let's see, if this is not red, and we want to move out, we eventually fall back on ourselves. So this cell has to be red, the crop key connects this, so that also has to be red. So where do we continue? If this is not blue, we have the same problem where we move back in on ourselves. Because the crop key has to be the same. And this has to move out, so that has to be blue. I think same goes for that one, right? Because if we move out, we take this one as well, so that has to be blue. Now, how many cells is blue? That is 9 cells. So we have a region. Now we know all crop key dots are the same color. They're not blue because we have the full blue region. So you're going to be purple. And you have to be purple as well. And purple has to be bigger than 4. So it has to be at least this, at least 7. I can already say this puzzle will remain difficult for the whole puzzle. There is no part of it where it's slacking off. So if I forget anything I did in the solve, I'm very, very sorry, but that is just the nature of the puzzle. Since these are in the same region, okay, something that I found significant in this puzzle is the concept where, I think it's fairly well known, where black dots have 1, 2, 4, 8 as a set, because that doubles every step, and you have 3, 6 as a set, but those don't intertwine, so they are separate things, right? So when you have 3 connected digits, it's either 1, 2, 4, or 2, 4, 8, and in whatever orientation. This is always 2 or 4. I'm going to label this actually 1, 2, 4, 8. Normally I don't, but I think it's important. Now let's start thinking about this whisper. Let's start thinking about this whisper. Because, right, these cannot both be high. If they're both high, the minimum you have is 6 and 7, which creates 13, and that doesn't work. So these are low. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9. Because if that is 6, then both of these are 1. And then that is 6, 7, 8, or 9. So the maximum you can create here is 7, but the minimum of these 4 digits is 10. You have 2 sets of the sum, so the minimum is 5. So we know that. So 7 doesn't work. If you have 7, this is a 1, 2 pair, and that doesn't work. Okay. The next step I'm going to make is, well, this suffers from the same thing, right? The minimum is 5, so I'm going to make a horrible pencil mark, which is this. 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Because the problem here is, right, 5 doesn't work, because if you put in 5, this is either a 1, 4 pair, where whichever one is 1 goes with a 2, and that, you know, that disables the 2, 3 pair, so it is not 5. If you have 6, you have the same problem, because this could be a 2, 4 pair. Oh, well, 5 the other way is 2, 3, but 2 then goes either with a 4 or 1, and that defeats the 1, 4 pair. 6, the problem with 6 is that you have either a 2, well, 1, 5 pair doesn't work because neither can be 5. So you have a 2, 4 pair here. And what does the 2 go with? It goes with a 1, and a 4 goes with an 8. But you cannot make 1, 5 anymore, the other way to make 6. So that doesn't work. So this is 7, 8, or 9. Now, what is next? So, okay. I think what I'm going to look at is 1, 2, 4, 8, right? Because if these dots were from the same set, the 1, 2, 4, 8 set, right? I'm just going to pencil mark that. Then this cannot be 8. Then one of those is 1, 2. The other one is 4, 8. So 1, 2 and 4, 8. How do you make 7 then? Not 2, 5, not 1, 6, not 3, 4. So then it is 9, making that a 3, 6 pair. Making that a 3, 6 pair. Making that a 7 and that a 5. Which makes that a 6, right? 6 goes with 4, 2 here, because there is no other way to make 6 with those digits. So then this is a 1. This is a 5 and that is a 1. Now how I saw this is probably the step that took me the longest time, and maybe there's a different way to do it. But if that cannot be a 1, that cannot be a 2, because we have the 1, 2 or 4, 8 combo, and it's not a mix of those. So there was a problem with this. I just have to remember. Now this couldn't be 1, because if that's 1, none of those can be 1. Now if that's a 2, that's a 2. What was the problem again? There was something with this. Well, if that's a 2, that's a 4. And that's a 1 or an 8. Well, okay, now that has to be a 2, right? Because that is just how this is either a 1 or a 2, and I just established it couldn't be a 1. So that couldn't be a 2, so that is a 2. So that is a 4. So that is a 4. So that is a 2. Oh, and now we have 2 4s here. That's it. I just missed it. If that has to be a 2, so that has to be a 4. Puts a 2 there, puts a 4 there, and that breaks. So what do we know, right? Because this was all just a big hypothetical. Because the only thing this said is there is a 3 6 in one of those. So one of those is 3 6, one of those black dots. Now, if we go by every option, right? This is 3 6. Okay, so one thing easy to rule out. I'm not saying which one of these this is. I'm hypothesizing as a general, right? At this point, whichever one is 3 6. If we want to, if the total is 9, if this is a 3, that's going to be a 6, and that breaks that cell. So it could never be a 9. If that is 7, then we couldn't use 1 6 because, well, no, we could. I think we could. If that's a 6, that could be a 1. If that's a 3, that could be a 4. But I think we're going to have to think a bit further. Because if that is a 6, that's a 1, that's a 2, how do we make 7? Without 1, 2, or 3. You can't. So if that is 7, that cannot be 6. So that doesn't have to be a 1, that's a 4. And then the way to make 7 is 2 and 5. So if this is 7, and this is the 3 6 one, this must be the orientation. We can fill in, I think, the whole set, right? Because that now has to be 8. This cannot be 2, so it's 8. Then we have 1 left and 9. So that's a 1 and a 9. That is the option where this is 7. If, however, this is 8, I wish I could. I'm going to duplicate this whole region just so I can highlight what I'm thinking. Because this can all be mirrored. So if that's 6, that can be, if that's 6, that can also be 8, that can be 6, that can be 3, that can be 4. The 1 9 is just a pair, that can be 2, that can be 5. That's in the case where this is 7, so this is one of the options. 6 8, 6 8, 3 4, 3 4, 2 5, 2 5, 7. That's a 1 9 pair. That is where this is 7. If now this is 8, right, and we know that one of them is 3 6. So if that is 3, it goes with a 5. If it's 6, it goes with a 2. Now that cannot be 5 because it's on a black dot. So 3 doesn't work. It's 6 with a 2. The 6 goes with a 3. So how do we make 8? You can either make 2 7, 3 5, or 1 7. So it has to be 1 7. It has to be 1 7. Then the 2 goes with a 4, mandatory. Then that has to be a 5. And that has to be a 9. That is the case. That is just the way it goes. And this depends on orientation. So that's 2, that's 6, that's 3 4. So that is it. Those are the two ways. Now, one of those must break somehow. Now, how does that break? How does that break? It was in combination, I'm pretty sure it was in combination with this. So I need to keep that in mind as well. If that's a 9, that's still a 1 or a 2. Or a 4, never mind. Oh, this could never be an 8, right? Because if that's an 8, I'm saying that that's a 1. If that's an 8, I'm saying that that is a 1, and that's only true in a world where this is 7, and then one of those is 8, and you block all of those options. So that could never be an 8, because if it would be 8, you would put an 8 there, exactly there, and that's not possible. We see that here. So that couldn't be 8, so we know that that's 1, 2, or 4. So this could not be 1. That is a 9, so that's always a 9. I don't want to... I'm going to fill that in as a big 9. I know that is wrong, but I want to see those options beside each other. I think it's important. If that is a 2, that is a 2. If that is a 4, that's not a 4, that's not a 4. If that is a 4, that is a 4. And that will be a 7. If that's a 1, that's a 7. If that's a 2, that is an 8. If that is a 2, that is a 4, and that is an 8. So that doesn't work. Because if that is a 2, we live in the world where that is an 8. And that would be an 8. So that doesn't work. So that's not a 2. Oh, that's not a 2. So that's a 1 or a 4. So that is a 2. So that's not a 2. So that's now 5. And we live like this. And that is now a 1 or a 4 as well. I'm still trying to see. So this is a 1 or a 5. So do we know whether this is the case or this is the case? Because, you know, that would clarify a lot. How do we ever know? If that is a 4, we know we live in a 7. If that is a 1, we live in a 7. So it is the 7. This is what it is. Okay, so we can fill that in. 1, 5, 7, 2. I'm sorry for the very hypothetical way of doing this, but if there is a different way to see what I saw, please elaborate. I would love to learn. I would love to learn, but I wasn't seeing it. So if that's 4, that is 4. Okay, well, that's not a 1. if that is an 8, right, and that's a 2-3 pair, so then that is a 5. That's a 6. That's a 3. So that's then a 2. Okay, that's not a 2. That's something. So this is not 4-8 or 3-6 because either this is 4-8, making that not be possible to be a 4-8, or that is 4-8, and then that still cannot be 4-8, and same goes with 3-6. So it's either 1-2 or 2-4. Where that cannot be a 4, because these are different and they both see the same cell. Sure. Now, where do we continue? Where do we continue? If that is a 5, we are a lot more stuck now. Because that cannot be a 1. So, what are we saying? Could that be 4-1? Well, okay, so we know that this is different, I guess. That is something. This, whatever region this is, it's not orange, and it has to grow. It can maximum grow this, so it has to take those. I'm running out of colors. Second page, U. No, that's too similar as well. No, sure. Wait, no. It'll never touch purple, right? The other pink. I hope so. So where am I looking now? If this is 5, then this is 1, 2, 3, or 4, and then we have a 2, 3, 4 triple. And one of those is 1. We kind of know. One of those is 2, so one of those is 3. So we have a 1-3 pair with a 2-4 pair. But it does seem to work. That's not a 7. It's still difficult. It is still very difficult. I've solved this already, and it's still difficult. How? So any of those options not possible. These can both be what they are. So if that is an 8, right? If that is an 8, then that's a 2-3, then that is a 1-4 pair. And that's a 4, that is a 1. Why is that not possible? If that's a 1, that's a 4. That's a 3, then that's a 2. So that's a 3. Why could that possibly be wrong? That's I'm not sure. If that is 4... Okay, so that is something. If that is 4, then that is 8. Then that's a 1. So then we have 1, 1, 2, and 4. So we place 3 on this whisper. The 3 goes with an 8 or a 9. And there's already an 8 there and a 9 there. So that cannot be 4, that is 3. And that is 6. That is 4. That is 8. That doesn't unwind this. But that 1, 4 pair does make it so that cannot be 5. Because none of those can be 1, 4. If that is a 3, then that's a 2. So that doesn't work. If that is a 1, that can be at most a 3. So that doesn't work. So that's a 4. So we have 2 9s. And then we have that adding up to 6 or 7. Okay. So where does this get its 9 from? Because it doesn't get it from any of those, not from one of those. It can take at most 4 more cells. It doesn't take it from any of those, not from this one. So 4 more cells, so it can take it from those. But I think if we take this one, we can do this, but then we box in purple, right? So that's a problem. So it can never be that one. It could also do this, but that forces the same problem. Same problem with the 9 being there. You know, you could extend it or however you want, but you don't leave enough space for purple to grow. So that has to be the 9 in orange. Okay. So what does this... Oh, so purple has to get out. Yeah, right, because 5, 7. Yeah, so 2 more cells at most, at minimum. So this cell, what does this 9 belong to? It has to belong to green. So that is something. So how do you make... If this is 6, then that's 2, 4, and this is 1, 5. Or to be exact, 1, 5. If it's 7, that's 4, 3. So we have 2, 5, which it cannot be, or 1, 6. So that's a 6. So that's a 1. So that is a 4, and that is a 1. Again, one of those is small digit, but it can be 3 or 2. Yeah, no, I think multiple things are possible there. However, red also needs a 9. So it does extend at least into this, maybe to here. Still. I am very much wondering if this is the hardest boss I'm going to face, or if this is just... get ready. Just the start of, you know, what we're going to see. That cannot be a 9, I guess. Could it be 5? So 5, 6, 7, or 8, because you have the same problem we saw earlier. So 5, 6, 7, or 8. If that is 5, then this is 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you could never make this work. So that's not 5. If it's 6, right? If it is 6, then you're going to have 2, 4, 1, 5. So you use 1, 2, and 4. But then this could be 3, 6. No, it couldn't because there's a 6. Okay. So 6 doesn't work. So that's 7 or 8. Yeah. Let's label this. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, or 8? Yes. So 5 doesn't work on a German whisper. So one of those is 1, so none of those are 1. If that is 7, that's a 1 or a 2. That doesn't work. So none of these are... Well, okay, so one of those is 3, 6, right? Yeah. Because you cannot have 1, 2, 4, 8 as this. So what can this cell be? Because it sees 1 and 4. So if it is 3, 6, it could be, well, 3 and 6. Or it could be 2 or 8. If it's 8, that's a 4. If it's 2, it could be 1 or 4. If that's 3 or 6, that's a 3 or a 6. Oh, well, if that's a 6, that's a 1, so that doesn't work. That cannot be 6, that cannot be 3. So could 1, 2 work? No, 1, 2 couldn't work, because then the minimum you have in these 4 cells, right, it's 9, is 18, so then the minimum would be 9, and that doesn't work. So 1, 2 doesn't work, so that cannot be 1. But 2, 4 could work, I think. Could 2, 4 work? If you have 2, 4, then the minimum is 4, 10, 15. You could make 8 then, I guess. Because if you have 2, 4, you can make 3, 5 or 1, 7. And we have 3, 5 and 1, 7. Yeah. Does 3, 6 work? Because 3, 6 does a lot more damage to the division of the digits, I think. Because if it's then 8, you have 1, 7. That doesn't work. And if it's 7, you use 3, 6, so you have 2, 5. And you don't have 3, 4, or 1, 6. So it is not 3, 6. So this is not 3, that is not 6. So that's always a 4. Does that mean... If that is 4, 8, we have... If that is 4, 8, then we have 7 there. If that is 4, 8, then we have 7 here. No, wait, 4, 2 I think is stronger, isn't it? No, let's look at 4, 8 first. 4, 8, because that makes 7. Then we cannot use 3, 4. So we use 2, 5 and 1, 6. So we have 2, 5 and 1, 6. No, I'm unsure at this point. I don't know. If that is 8, this is 2 or 3. If that is 2, that can be a lot of stuff. Okay. Uncertain. What is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 3, 6, or 7. And these, I'm just going to label that because I noticed that it was important. 3, 5, 6, or 8. This cannot be 3 because then that would be a 1 or a 2. And then these 3 would all be 1 or 2s, so that's not a 3. That is not an 8 because of this 8. I was hoping that was going to do more, to be honest. So, okay. If that is... Oh, well, if that is an 8, right, what is this going to be? That's going to be a 3. But that breaks the black dot because that has to be a 3, 6. Well, actually that just has to be a 3, 6. So if that's an 8, that cannot be 1, 2, or 3. So that's not an 8, it's a 1. And then this is a high digit, which is not 6. So it's 7, 8, or 9. Well, okay, so if that's a 3, that has to be an 8, because if that would be a 6, that would be a 1, so that doesn't work. So that's a 6. And this is 2 or 3. So that is a 7. So we're living with 2, 5, and 1, 6. Those are not 6. That's not a 3. That's not a 6. So that's a 6. Well, one of those is a 6. Because either that's a 6 and that's a 7, or that is a 5 and that is a 7, a 6, I mean. So that is always, one of those is always a 6. So I think this has to belong to green, because this cannot be, this just isn't possible, and no other area can reach this. So that is green. So those aren't 6. Yeah. Okay. 2, 5 makes that a 3 as well. So those are different regions. Actually, I'm gonna color that because that's a new thing. Those are blue, so it doesn't turn there, so it has to extend. It cannot pick up that one because it would pick up that one, so that's that. It has to extend past the green whisper. So 5, so this is then also a 6 or 7. Sure. So if that is 5, that cannot be a 2, because that cannot be a 3. So if that's a 5, that's a 1 or a 4. If that's an 8, oh well, that just couldn't be a 2, because if that's an 8, well, either that's a 5 and that would have to be a 3, so that's not true, or that's an 8 and that would have to be a 6, and that's not true. So if this is an 8, that's a 1 and that's a 7. So now if that's a 3, and that's a 5, that's an 8, that's a 7, and then that's a 3, and that's a 7, and that breaks that cell, so that's not a 3. That's a 5-8 pair, so that is now a 3. That's a 5-8 pair, so that's a 6. And it's not green. So what is it going to belong to, since it's not orange as well? It has to be purple. So 9 has to get out. Does it like that? Let's draw in some borders. I'm going to draw in the whole edge border as well, because I want to have it complete. This is like that. That's a border. You know that this is a border. What borders else do we know? Well, we know that that's a border. And we know that that's a different color. So I am going to start coloring that orange, because it will never ever touch orange. Because it's not red, right? It's not blue, and it won't touch any of these. Right? Right? Yes, no, it won't. Let's see. Do we know? Oh, well, that now is a 7. So that's not a 7, so that's a 1-4 pair. That is a 2, that is a 5. So that's an 8. But we don't necessarily know if that 8 is green, because it could also be purple, I guess. So that now is a 3. Okay. Making more progress than I expected. Well, like I said, I already did the puzzle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So what are we going to remove? Those two cannot be 6. That cannot be 5 or 7. That's it. That is it. This video is going to be much longer than most Sudokuvania videos, I'm pretty sure. But that's just what it is. That's just because the puzzle is what it is, right? If that now is an 8. If that now is purple, right? And that is 5, then that is 6, and that is 7. Oh, well, that 6 makes that a 7. I could have seen that before. So that's a 5-8 pair. 5-8 pair makes that a 6. Makes that a 7. Makes that not purple, so it is green. So we can draw some more borders. Oh, well, green is done now. Then purple is now 7, so it needs at least one more. And now one more. This. What is it not going to touch? I think anything, so it's going to be a new color, yellow. Oh, that 7 makes that a 6. That a 2. That a 5. Now what do I need here at the bottom? Well, orange needs 3 more cells, so it's those 3. I need a 7 and an 8. Can I resolve that somehow? No. But that now is a 3. That's 3 in the corner. That's 3 in the spotlight. I'm starting to lose my religion. That's not 7 nor 8 because of Sudoku. So that's a 9. So how many 9s do we have? Well, quite a lot, but not enough, I don't think, to do the trick I want to do. Because, right, if you have every 9 in the puzzle, you can basically allocate those digits to regions, and then you have sort of a guide for how the regions are going to have to flow. That 5 makes that an 8. That a 5. So what now? We used basically most clues now. It's not just not this one. Doesn't contain a 6. Well, okay, so if that is, this could be 2 or 7, right? Because it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah. If it's 2, then that could be 7, 8, 9. I don't see anything breaking that up. If that's 7, then that's 1 or 2. I don't see anything breaking that up. I don't like that pencil mark, so I'm going to remove it. That cannot be 7 or 8. This cell cannot be 7 or 8. So it is 2. That cell is then 7 or 8. So that creates a 7-8 pair. So what did I say? If that's 2, and then that is 9, or it's 1 or 2. Okay. What am I missing in this region? I'm missing a 3 for sure. 3. Well, I'm missing 1, 3, and 4. So these are for sure 1, 3, and 4. So that's not a 3. Well, okay, so in this region I'm missing 3 and 9, so that doesn't belong to it. And again, in that region, I'm missing 3 and 9, so it never takes that cell because that cannot be 3 or 9, so it takes this cell. So now purple has to grow one more, and now purple is done. And it is 1, 3, or 4 that is missing. And in this row, I'm missing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, and 9. Am I saying that correctly? Yes, but that cannot be a 9. That cannot be a 5, and that cannot be an 8. Right. So this needs a 3 or a 9, so that's a 3 or a 9. The next cell is also a 3 or a 9. So how many regions do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have every region. So every cell is now going to have to belong to one of those regions. It's going to be hard to say which is which. Where does this get its 6 from? Because, right, this 6 blocks those, so this, it cannot be like this, it cannot be like this, because, well, no, one of those could be 6, right, one of those has to be 6. Yeah, one of those has to be 6, one of those is 6. So that forms a pair with these. So we only need a 6 in the top row, which is exactly there. And then we have a 6 in every region. Cool. I'm trying to back this down as much as I can, but it's just difficult. But that's what this puzzle is supposed to be, I guess. I am curious as to what it's going to say. I think it's going to teach me zipper lines within Sudokuvania, but that's okay. That's a worry for later. Yes, one of those is 6, one of those is 6. Oh, well, that's not a 7. But that doesn't change anything, I don't think. So maybe it is time to think about what digits are going to belong to where. Because, right, one of those is going to be 9 for the red region. So where is purple going to get its 9 from? It's either this one or it's going to be there, because that's the only cells it can reach. I saw that with the 6. So which region will take up that 9 if purple is like this? It won't be blue because that cannot reach it. It won't be orange, I don't think. Orange, could orange reach it? No, but that will always close in something, right? Because blue will then have to scoot across the top, and that won't work. So orange is not it. It could be yellow. But that creates a 5-8 pair, because then there's a 9 in its region, then that's a 5, that's an 8, and that breaks that cell. So this is purple, and that's the whole region of purple as well. So this has to attach to blue, and that finishes blue as well. That's just a row. Okay. Yeah. So where 3 in this column is in one of those. could this ever be reached by orange, right? Because the only regions that will pick up cells now is orange, yellow, and red. And red only picks up one more, so it's either one of those. So this cell's only be able to be reached by orange. That's something. But this cell, could it ever be reached by orange? And that's 5, 4, that makes that 9. That works exactly. So why doesn't it? There must be a reason. Oh, right, in this row, the only place where 5 can go is there. So then that's a 9. That's an 8. So where does 9 go? Because we need more 9s. 9 was just now a vital point, but I don't see it coming back anyway. And that's 2 or 7, so that is a 2. That is a 7. So that's a 1 or a 2. That makes that an 8. So, okay, so it doesn't take that cell anymore, because then this 5, 7 makes that an 8, and that makes a... Oh, well, already... Yeah, so 5, 7 makes that an 8, which breaks that cell. So that is a yellow cell. And then it couldn't ever not be this one, because it would have to connect around, and that would isolate whatever this is. So that is yellow. This 8 sees that 5 then. So that's not a 5. That makes that a 5, that a 2. I'm missing one more 2, which is... No, I'm missing 2. It's either there or there. Or it's in this column, there or there. It's in one of those, okay. No, but yellow could reach a lot of those. So what else? What am I missing? That 8 makes that a 5, so I'm missing 6 and 8, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8, yes. So I'm missing a 4 there. What am I missing? One of those is a 5. Well, that's a 5. So I'm missing 1, 2, and 1, 2, and 9. 9. So that's a 1 or a 2, so that is a 9. So where is the last 9? It is in one of those for red, and also for orange. It's in one of those 4. There's 2 9s in those 4 digits, right? In these 4. Yeah. So they're either arranged like that or like that. But that doesn't prove or say anything. What am I missing in this column? It is 1, 2, 3, 3 and 4. I'm pretty sure. What am I missing in this column? It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1 and 7. Well, that places a 7 and a 1. That 7 is... Could it be not yellow? With that, it could be. It could be. If it is, If it is, it's being a bit hazy. That's a 6, that's a 1. So that's a 6, that's an 8. Where am I missing? Oh, well, that 5. What region does it belong to? Orange is the only region it can belong to. So it has to be. Now that 7 makes that an 8, but that has to be orange as well. So where, what? That is a bit of a weird arrangement, I think. So that could never be yellow because that would isolate. That could never be yellow because that would isolate. So that's 4, that's 3. So we have 2 more cells. And there is just something. What am I missing here? 3, 4, and 9 still? Yeah. I don't like that pencil mark. This. 1, 2, and 4. So this is 2 or 4. It is within orange, so it's a 4. So that's a 3. That's a 4, so that has to be yellow. That could never be yellow, so it is orange. So that is yellow. So that's yellow because that is. And that's yellow. 4 makes that a 1. So none of those are a 1. Is that resolved? I don't know. How many cells is this? 5, 8. So 1 more. And the digit is 2. So we need 1 more 2, which is there. Yellow, so that is red. I'm going to finish the lining first. And then we can accept that this puzzle took way too long. Then that is orange with a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 3, 3, 4, 1. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, of course. 2, 7, 8, and 7. Oh no. Did I miss something? Okay, I'm going to pass through all the numbers. 1s. Oh, yes. Thank God, okay. Whoa, you snap out of your meditation with a sudden clarity. You realize you have been seeing those zip lines embedded in the walls of the castle. Now understanding how they work. Exactly, yeah, so you learn zipper lines. You're able to find another way to the throne room. The guru calls out as you turn towards the large zip line in this place. Take heed. The Hall of Illusions is not to be taken lightly. Many of the clues there cannot be trusted. You feel a knot in your stomach at the thought you may have been misled, but steel yourself for the task ahead. Your increased clarity allows you to ride zip lines throughout the castle. Enter 4 into this puzzle's boss digit in Sudokuvania. A hard-fought 4. Thank you. Okay. Unlock zip lines. Let's just read the rule so we know it for next time. Along a red line, cells in equal distance from the center of the line contain digits that sum to the center cell. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a very nice day. I'm sorry this video was a bit longer than usual, but this just had to be that way. Have a nice day. Thank you.